Morning, we are live. I apologize if you saw my video just a couple of minutes ago. I had to hurry and shut it down because we were having some connection issues, but those seem to have been resolved. So we're going to go ahead and get started. I'm using a cold press Blick Premier block, and I'm using my trusty size 8 round brush, and then I'll be using a size 2 round brush for details. And then I've got my water here, one for warm colors, one for cool colors, in case you were wondering why I have red and green over here. I just haven't rinsed it out. And let's just go ahead and get started. So we're going to start by painting our pumpkin kind of here in the center. And I want to use a lot of colors, not just orange. And so I'm going to start with kind of my orange color, but then we're going to mix it up a little bit. And I apologize if the sound is a little wonky today. We were testing it out and seem to have figured it out, but it's been giving us some trouble the last couple of live videos. So I'm loading up my brush with this paint, and then I'm going to paint just kind of this oval shape here in the front. Does not have to be perfect. And then I'm going to continue by just adding kind of like crescent shapes almost. And this is going to be our pumpkin. I'm starting to mix in a little bit of pink. That's just my personal preference. You know that I love pink. And so I'm going to add it into my pumpkin, but if you don't want a pink pumpkin, you just want it to be orange, then go for it. Now my little crescents are getting a little thinner and a little bit shorter on the side. I'll cover that up later. And we'll go around the back and add just a couple little blobby lines there. And I'm just going over the front of this to just darken everything up a little bit. Okay, that feels pretty good. So now I'm going to move on to my flowers. And I'm going to put some flowers over here and over here with some leaves too. So I'm just going to pick some pinks and some reds. Let's see, I'm going to start actually with this. It's called, now I'm totally blanking. I know Earth is in the name and I cannot remember for the life of me. It's by Daniel Smith and it's just a lovely color. I'm just going to add some little petals over here. I'm not caring too much about definition just because when we add details later, it'll kind of make everything feel like it's supposed to. So don't worry about getting a perfect petal shape right off the bat. No need to. You can kind of see at the bottom of the screen here, I'm mixing in some raw umber violet to my perylene maroon. I want a nice deep, rich red. I'm painting this much smaller than I'm used to painting. Shouldn't say much smaller, but it's a lot smaller than the roses I'm used to painting because I want this pumpkin to be the hero of my painting and really stand out. And then let's add, instead of flowers on this side, I think I want to add just a few little berries. Gotta sneak that opera rose in here somewhere. Let's be honest, I'll probably sneak it a couple more places too. I love how bright and bold it is. Do you have a color that you're just drawn to? You can't get away from it. Okay, I'm using isoindolin yellow. And let's see. I think I'll add in a little bit of this jaune brilliant. I think that's how you pronounce it. Just to kind of mute it down a little bit. And then I'm going to add some kind of ruffly leaves in here. And there, and then over here. And if you have any comments or questions, I am able to see them, but I'm saving them for the end. Just for rewatchability, I want this to feel like a video that was pre-recorded, even though I am painting live. So I don't know about you, but whenever I watch live videos, I'm always like, all right, enough chatting, just get to the point. So I'm trying to be mindful of people watching the replay. Okay, I'm just trying to decide what my next move is going to be. I like the little pop of yellow that I have in here. I almost want it to be a little bit bolder. I'll add some bold pops of yellow down here. Let's see. Part of the beauty of painting live is you get to see me kind of work through the composition and try to figure out where I want to place things. I'm trying to be mindful of color too. So I've got color here, and a touch of color here. This is something that I talk about in my composition course. just making sure that you have a nice balance of color to help the whole piece feel cohesive. And I love using unexpected colors. They might not work for everybody, but I love them. I love color. It's kind of hard to see on this video, but this is like a bright yellow-green. Been using a lot of that color lately too. And then this is just a color I have mixed on my palette already. Just a mixture of greens and reds to create this kind of brownish green. I'm going to come in here and just create a little bit of depth here. Went a little heavy-handed right here, but that's okay. We'll try and balance it out when we add in some details over here. I'll be able to hear my baby crying. He's supposed to be taking a nap, and he's fighting it a little bit. Let's see. And I'm going back in with that raw umber violet. I'm going to add a stem here at the top. And now I'm going to start to add in my details because down here is feeling a little bit unfinished. And then once this is completely dry, I can go back in and add more detail to that too. That is the key. Waiting until things are completely dry to add more detail. I've said it before, and I will say it a million times. That is the number one thing. If you think your painting is unfinished, just wait for it to dry and maybe walk away from it for a minute and then come back with fresh eyes and see where you need to add more details. So when I first got started with watercolor, I would finish something and just think it was done. Or, I mean, not finish. I would like paint 1 or 2 layers and think it was totally done. But I realized after painting a while that the layers are what give it depth. Let's see. Now, if I wanted this to feel a little bit more moody and not quite as bright, I just have to swap some of these colors. Like instead of using this bright pink and coral, maybe I would use this dark green or a dark purple, raw umber violet, something like that. And I am going to add in more raw umber violet to create just a little bit of contrast. I apologize. Sometimes I get in the zone with painting and I forget that I'm supposed to be chatting and telling you what I'm doing. So right now I'm pretty close to being done. So I'm just kind of going through and figuring out where I have gaps, where I need to add more detail or add a little bit more depth. So that's what I'm doing right now. I'm just kind of going in and filling in some of these spots that I feel a little empty. And I'm also adding detail to the leaves. And I'll come in and add detail to these flowers, but I'm waiting just a moment because I just added another layer to those, and so I want to make sure they're totally dry before I go in and add more detail. So I can see down here that it needs something a little bit dark. I've got a lot of this heavy weight, visual weight over here. And so I'm just going to add some more of that dark color down here. And hopefully that'll help balance that out. Okay, now my favorite part is adding the details to my flowers right here. And I've reached for raw umber violet. It is a favorite. I'm mixing in a little bit of Caroline purple and a little bit of this neutral tint color. So I've painted the center and then I kind of created a little halo of dots. And then I'm just connecting the dots to the center one with these little lines. And I'm not connecting every single one, but I am putting quite a few lines down. All right, now just to finish everything off, I want to add a little more depth to this guy up front. And I kind of like what's happening here, obviously, with the upper rose. I can't get away from it, guys. All right. Just want to make this a little bit brighter here in the front. I also want to tie in some of this color here. I'm trying to hurry so I can go see what's wrong with the baby. I'm sure he's just upset because I'm not in there with him. He's become a little bit of a mama's boy lately. And his dad is here, but he must be busy doing something too, so don't worry. I'm not ignoring my child. All right, now I know I'm just fussing with my painting and it's going to start looking muddy here in a minute. So I'm just going to call it done and and just let it be, because I know that if I start fussing with the pumpkin especially, that I'm just not going to be happy with it. I do want to darken that leaf right there just because I think that'll help balance everything. Yeah, I think that helped. But I am going to call this done. So if you have any questions, I will hang on for just another minute. Maybe shorter, depending on how the baby's doing. I'm going to check out some of these comments. Hi, Stephanie. Yes, Prussian blue is gorgeous. I've gone through several blue phases, and they're just gorgeous. And Robin, yellow and purple is your go-to combination. Yes. Stephanie asked, you have 2 children. Yes, I've got 2 boys. And do you watercolor with your older child yet, or is he still too young? Yes, we do paint all the time. He always is asking me if he can paint because I've got my desk set up kind of in our living room area. And so he always sees my paints out and he always wants to paint with me. So it makes me really happy. I love painting with him. He's sneaking upstairs. My husband's sneaking upstairs to go check on the baby. And the pinks and oranges together, yes, I am obsessed with pink, with anything. Do I ever use his paintings as inspiration for my own? So it's funny because I love his use of color. He is not afraid of color. So in a way, yes, because I also love to use unexpected colors. Let me see if I have something of his. I'll just lay in here. And I mean, he just paints little blobs and stuff. But you can see he's not afraid to use the pink, and there's little pops of orange. I love the just subtle color nuances. I'm kind of a sucker for that. And I know that he's not intentionally trying to create, you know, a purple to kind of bridge the red and blue, but I love that his little intuition tells him to do that. And I think he's going to be an amazing artist when he grows up. And he's an amazing artist right now. So that's just a little plug for my 4-year-old. He's the greatest. I love him. And then my baby, he's definitely too little, but he's pretty upset. Oh, darn it. What happened?
It's the balls with the inserts.
Oh, shoot. Yes, I love that about children as well. This is what Stephanie says. I don't have a child of my own, but I like to use the colors they use, like a limited color palette. Yes. In fact, I really want to do my color challenge again. I've still got my little bag of colors here. And I just love to, you know, whenever I'm feeling like I'm in a rut or if I want to use colors that are unexpected, you can go back a couple of weeks ago. I just drew out 3 colors and they happened to be yellow, orange, and black. 3 colors I would never pick to use if I was using a limited palette, but it actually turned out pretty fun. So definitely try using a limited color palette. So I will say next week, I can't remember what video I have planned, but in November, I'm going to be talking all about composition and just like different elements of composition to help with your compositions. It's also a little plug for my course because I do dive into every aspect of composition with flowers in that course, and it's really fun. All right, I am going to end this live video. If you have any questions as you're watching this, if you've made it to the end, go ahead and write them in the comments below. If you have any suggestions for future videos, I'm always open to taking those. And I will see you next week for our next Watercolor Wednesday. Thanks for joining me.